Hi guys! Today's story that I'm going to read to you is titled Not Norman. And our reading tip for today is that avid readers pay close attention to what the story says so they can act it out exactly the way the author wrote it. So in order for us to do that, as we're reading, we're going to look carefully and see how the characters are acting and how they might be feeling, and that will help us act it out later. So in order to do this, we need to pay close attention. So we have Not Norman, a Goldfish story. This was written by Kelly Bennett, illustrated by Noah Z. Jones. And as always, before we get started, we'll go through the parts of the book. We have the title, the front cover, spine, and the back cover. And it looks like the author wrote this book for someone special. This is the dedication page. Not Norman, a Goldfish story. This page right here has the title, the author and illustrator's names, and the company that published the book. This is the title page. Not Norman, a Goldfish story. When I got Norman, I didn't want to keep him. I wanted a different kind of pet. Not Norman. I wanted a pet who could run and catch, or one who could climb trees and chase strings. A soft, furry pet to sleep on my bed at night. Not Norman. All Norman does is swim around and 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 around. This is it, Norman, I decide. I'm trading you for a good pet. Norman doesn't move. Not even a fin twitches. It looks like he was pretty upset and angry that he had to keep Norman for a pet. How can I trade him like this? No one will want a sorry-looking fish in a gunky bowl. When I drop Norman into his nice clean bowl, he starts dipping and flipping and flapping his fins around. He looks so goofy, I have to laugh. Don't think just because you made me laugh, I'm going to keep you, I tell him. Tomorrow, you're out of here. Norman blows a stream of bubbles. The next day, I take Norman to school with me. If I talk him up real good during show and tell, maybe someone will want him. On the way there, we see my friend Austin. Austin has a real cool dog and 7 puppies. Want to swap one of my pups for Norman? I ask. Who's Norman? Asked Austin. My goldfish, I say. By the time I rescue Norman, half his water is gone. I'm sorry, I tell Norman when we get to school. I'm really sorry. He just stares at me all googly-eyed. Finally, it's my turn to show and tell. Just as I start talking about Goldfish, Emily shouts, "Jenny's gone! Who let my snake loose?" It looks like he's still trying to talk about Goldfish. Does anyone hear the story of how I got Norman? Does anyone even ask to hold his bowl? No. They're all jumping and screaming and chasing the snake. Not Norman. He's looking right at me. Thanks for listening, I tell him. So let's look carefully at this picture. It seems like the little boy is starting to like Norman. I can see that because he's smiling at him, and Norman was the only one that was listening to his story. That afternoon, we go to my music lesson. As soon as it's over, I'm taking Norman back to the pet store. I take out my tuba and begin to play. I glance over at Norman. He's swaying back and forth. Glug, 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 he mouths. Look, Norman's singing, I say. Pay attention, snaps Maestro, and try to play the proper notes. Bom, 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 ba, 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 boo, 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 bee. Maestro makes me stay for extra practice. By the time the lesson is over, it's too late to go to the pet store. Don't think just because you like my music, I'm going to keep you, I tell Norman. He glugs. That night, I'm sound asleep when screech, screech. What's that noise? Scratch, scritch, screech. Yikes, there's something at the window. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I spot Norman. He isn't scared. He isn't swimming around in circles either. He glugs and gives me a little wave. I'm not alone. So it seems like the little boy is really afraid in this part of the story. So I would pay close attention to this, because as I'm acting out this part of the story, I would look like I was really afraid. Together, Norman and I opened the curtains. It was just a broken tree branch. Thanks for watching out for me, Norman. On Saturday, I take Norman to the pet store, just like I said I would. I look at the cats and dogs and snakes and birds. I look at the hamsters and mice and lizards too. They all look like good pets, but they are not Norman. So let's look carefully at this picture. It looks like, yes, he's happy to see the other pets, but really, he's looking at Norman. When I got Norman, I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep him, but now, even if I could pick any pet in the whole world, I wouldn't trade him. Not Norman. And it says, Norman, one amazing fish. So as we were reading, the little boy seemed like he was feeling a lot of different things in this story. And by us paying close attention to what the words were saying and close attention to what was going on in the picture, that would help us to understand what the author wanted us to think the character was feeling. So as I read, I think about how the character is feeling so that when I'm ready to act it out, I'll know exactly what to do. I hope you guys enjoyed this story. Have a great day.